edition of Why Are You Awake? This week we have the legendary comedian Jeanie Doogan, my voice of reason for years, one of the closest friends I had in comedy. This is a fun episode. If you don't follow her already, please follow her on Instagram. If you don't follow me on Instagram. If you're listening to this podcast, go and watch it on the YouTube channel at youtube.com/Paul F Comedy. Make sure you subscribe. Go to my website, Paul F Comedy, for upcoming dates. This Friday, I'll be at Laughing Academy in Glenview as part of the Gen X-ish show with Abby Sanchez and Kristen Toomey. I'll be in Vegas at the MGM Grand with Greg Warren from June 23rd through the 29th at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club. I'll be at Laugh Factory at Stand Up Sit Down on Monday, June 30th. We have a stellar lineup. If you follow me on Instagram, DM me. I'll give you free tickets to come to that show. I'll be at Side Splitters in Wesley Chapel, Florida on July 5th. I'll be back in Waterford Township, One Night Stands, one of my favorite clubs in Detroit area, July 10th. Through the 12th, and then I'll be at the Comedy Vault on July 27th as part of Paul Farahvar and Friends. Make sure you go to my website, paulfcomedy.com, for all information on tickets and all that good stuff. Also, if you're listening to this podcast and you want one of these cool, super cool Why Are You Awake pins, it's just that logo over there. Can you see the logo? There it is. There it is. Whatever. You see it. It's on my shoulder. Just give us a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to the podcast, or even on YouTube. Comments below in the notes or whatever, and DM me and I'll send you a pin. I've got a few of them left. They're super cool. They're high end. The logo's phenomenal. Thanks, Amy. Yeah, subscribe if you don't already. It helps a lot. Give us reviews. Follow all these comedians I have on Instagram. It helps a lot. And also, check out our sponsors. Hey gang, as some of you know, I used to be a practicing lawyer in Chicago. I no longer practice, but from time to time I need a lawyer. And when I need a lawyer, I call my friend Scott Shapiro. Scott Shapiro has been practicing law for over 25 years in Chicago. He does it all, from workers' compensation to personal injury, employment issues, and even entertainment law and contract needs. If you need a lawyer, call my friend Scott. 312-648-8800. That's 312-648-8800. Or you can email him at scott@scottshapirolegal.com. Tell him I sent you. You're welcome. It's time for another edition of Why Are You Awake? Paul Farahvar here, your host. This week we have a very special guest. For some of you who may recall the podcast that this previously was, you might recognize her voice that can't pronounce the word button. Comedian, legend, Jeanie Doogan.
Thanks, Paul. Thank you for making fun of my speech impediment.
I'm in Florida a lot, and the girl that I on and off was dating can't say button either.
No? She's Midwest?
No, she's from Idaho. But some people just can't say words.
Button. What is wrong with that? You know, the only time I hear the South Side accent that I have is when I say the word talk. It's so terrible.
Sounds New Yorkie there.
I think it is a speech impediment. When I am on stage, audiences are like, that is what our Pope sounds like now.
That's good.
This is not good.
You know, we're known for that now. Now, when people shit on Chicago, when I travel, you guys got the Pope.
The Pope.
It's pretty good.
Gosh.
Southsider.
Southside? No, I could care less about the Pope or like the
I thought
Catholic
you were
Church.
raised Catholic.
Yeah, which is why I no longer am. Anybody that was raised Catholic and is still a practicing Catholic, I don't know, man.
Donated all that money and time.
You don't even have to sign anything. You just stop going. I just don't know how you're still supporting an organization that won't give women a seat at the table. Like, are you kidding? Quit tradition.
All right. Well, we're out of time, Jeanie. Where can people find out more?
You can find me at the Catholic Archdiocese of Chicago.
Women
I
as
know.
seats.
I
What are
got
you talking
deep
about? You
in
guys get
this.
to fucking you get
I'm
to
so
talk now
sorry.
and vote and drive. There's so many things that women
Yeah,
are doing now.
but we're not allowed to be priests, and that was my desire in life.
Did you really want to be a priest?
Audience, Paul's audience. I'm so sorry that I went deep so quick. I'm just looking to fight all the time.
Yeah, you're angry.
I'm not angry. Just about the Catholic
Jeannie, you
Church.
were the voice of reason for years on the Singles Only podcast, award-winning
Award-winning.
Singles Only podcast right
Yes.
here. I don't know if they could see it. Yeah, you were just like, I've had enough.
I've had enough.
You're like, get Patty.
I
Yeah.
was like, why am I still talking to you about single people, Paul?
Well,
Paul
how do you
is
think I felt?
perpetually single.
How do you think I felt? I was like the old guy being like, stay
Yeah.
single, guys. My back.
And, my theory about you was always I'm like, how have you maintained friendships with all these women you used to date or sleep
Mm-hmm.
with? Like, I'm not friends with any of my exes. No surprise to anyone.
Yeah, I mean, did you just see
but
how you started this podcast with anger?
None of the priests I used to date will talk to me. But my theory about you is you would become friends with these women so that you could invite them to shows. And you're like a serial killer collecting like little trinkets from your victims.
This will never make the podcast because it's accurate. We've talked about this before, and there's a clip of us that I videotaped once where I was saying, I'm just a kind person. Or I said I was nice. And you're like, nice is bullshit. You don't have to be nice. You should be kind. Nice is fucking pussy. I was like,
I
okay.
never said the P word, audience. No, there is this theory. I can you tell I'm out of practice from interviews. I just keep referring to the audience. There is this really strong feeling I have that people that are nice just don't like to rock the boat. And it's okay to be nice in life, but there's times where being nice just means you don't want people to not like you, which means you're going to always go with the easy way, the popular thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think being kind is where it's at.
You think you're kind?
I'm actually a very kind person. I don't know if you would know that.
Well, I wouldn't.
I'm genuine, and I am. No,
Genuine
I am
is
very
two
kind.
different things. You can be a genuine asshole.
I'm not.
I'm
the
not
kind
saying
of
you are.
person. No, I definitely am an asshole. I'm not nice in the way that I'm kind of like short tempered and
Yes.
I just as I've gotten older, I don't really have time for the chit chat anymore, and people take that as maybe unfriendly. I don't toot my own horn, but I am a very kind person within the way I live my life and spend time with things.
Do you think your students think you're kind?
No, because they think that I'm very strict. They also would probably see me as kind when they come to me and they have an issue or they need extended time for an actual reason.
You're nice about it.
I'm kind about it. I'm reasonable.
What's
I think
a
that's
good
what
reason?
I would say. They have something going on at home or they've just kind of gotten behind because they're teenagers and they're trying to manage life.
What's the bad reason?
They just forgot about it or, like they will say like, well, I'm busy. Everybody's busy. Own up to it. And then I'll understand that. Paul, do your listeners know that I was a high school teacher for over 25 years?
Yeah, we
They
know
know
that.
that. Okay.
What I do to stay kind, what I do is I make a list every week, the number 10, sometimes 14 if I'm feeling lucky, of things that I'll do every day. Every week I'll do 10 to 14 selfless things.
Okay. Give me an example.
Promote somebody, a comedian.
Nice.
Like I'll share someone that I think is really funny. Donate to campaign.
Okay. Write that off on your taxes.
I mean, it's not like that. My taxes aren't affected by it. I'll if it's like the end of the week and I still haven't done anything, I'm like, oh fuck. So like I'll tip really well on one like random day. So someone's been like, holy shit. Like
What's really well for you?
So like typically I always tip 20% minimal. Round up.
Okay.
What do you tip?
30.
70?
You tip 20 for bad service. Yeah.
All right.
Come on. Paul. You hear this? You see why? You see
Listen.
what I'm saying? You tip 30%.
Minimal.
These people
normal.
are...
Oh no. I said that's normal.
Yeah.
Oh, sometimes I do 20. I mean, if it's me by myself, I tip way more because
Yeah.
I took up a fucking spot.
That's right. And you're often
That's
by
true.
yourself.
I eat a lot of meals by myself. I'd much rather do that
It's
than
so
have,
hard to
What do you have,
remember.
17 kids now?
That I can't be mean to you all the time.
People will hate you already. I don't know. There's so many things I
Yeah,
do. What do
there's
you
so
do?
many
Fucking
things.
things.
There's so
Well, it
many
started
things.
as like removing a negative thing from my life every
Okay,
day to try to
okay.
be positive. But then I ran out of negative things.
Because you're just a little ball of sunshine.
One thing I used to do was unfollow like people that were just negative,
Sure.
or people that were negative in your life. I was just
Yeah.
like, I'm not dealing with this shit anymore.
When I see people that are constantly punching down, that really bothers me. That punching down. No, something that I do and I try to instill, there is an organization by my house that feeds unhoused individuals, homeless as they were called. They serve them dinner one night a week, but they do it in such a way where the tables are set up with tablecloths.
Oh yeah, I've heard of this
centerpieces,
place. Yeah.
And you don't even have to, you could just be a family that doesn't have money to go out and you want to come in community.
We just want to save a couple bucks.
My kids and I, because you do
You
need
kids
to
and I will go there and
we'll
eat.
go there. No. We will go and serve, but you also have to bring all the food. So it gets really expensive because sometimes you're serving
That's
60
pretty
to
nice
7
of
people.
you, or kind of you.
Kind.
Whatever.
I mean, I'm an asshole to the people.
Yeah.
Like you're not getting seconds.
Yeah,
But I'm kind because I'm
you're
there.
nice about it.
No, because I try to instill that in them too about being
Your kids or the people in there?
yeah. No, my kids.
You're like,
because
let this be a lesson to you,
They-
homeless man. I did this. Jeanie Doogan. Follow me on Instagram.
follow me on Instagram.
Yeah.
Dugan with 2 O's. Yeah, no, because my kids, they're entitled. They like grew up with and
The
a
wealthy
pretty nice
life of a
wealthy life
of a teacher.
of a public school teacher. No, but they never really had a want for anything,
You've been doing comedy for what, 20 years now?
No, it's going to be 17 in August.
I know you're longer than I was. You're not a night owl now, clearly.
No.
You've never been a night owl?
No, but I'm also not really a day person either. I don't know. Here's the thing. I'm not a night owl in the sense that I'm at my best at night. I think that I have a harder time sleeping as I get older. So by default, I'm kind of a night owl. When you say night owl, is that somebody that like enjoys being out doing things late, or
No.
you're just up late?
Up
late.
after midnight.
Okay.
Has there ever been a period in your life where you've been up after midnight on the reg, or like at least on the regular?
Yeah, when I had that meth addiction. No.
With comedy, obviously you were.
Yeah. Doing, especially the first 5 years doing open mics. I was like getting up to teach at 6 a.m. and getting home at like 1.
So what would you do after your shows though? Because you're still like wired.
I'm like the most boring person ever, but I read. I like constantly
After shows, and that gets you.
That's what I do every night at bedtime is I read.
Really?
Yes, because that is.
Jesus fucking Christ.
I know, it's so boring. It's only one genre.
What's your genre?
I like murder mysteries.
Oh my
thrillers.
God, you're
Yeah.
such a basic
I know.
white woman.
But I also, because like all the self-help or like nonfiction books that I like to listen to those, right? Because I feel like then I can absorb it when I'm like walking the dogs. I'll like listen to the nonfiction, history or things. But then at night, right before I'm about to shut off the lights,
Murder.
and go to sleep. Yeah.
That's so weird. You have trouble sleeping.
I know, right?
Now you've been sober how long?
4.5 years.
You know this though. I started not drinking because of you, in solidarity to you.
Oh yeah.
I was like, I'm going to try it. And then I kind of was like, oh, I like
Yeah.
it. I mean, I'm not sober because I
But you
didn't have a
just-
fucking problem like some of us. But
You're just more mindful.
I just drink like probably twice a year now.
Okay.
If that.
If you have to keep track of it, you have a problem.
No, I don't keep track.
I'm kidding.
I remember I
Good
did
for
it on
you.
an episode. I listened to it recently. I was like, oh, that's where I was like, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
And you were doing sober January or some shit.
Yeah.
Or was it after a.
That's when I thought I could just kind of go back to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then I realized that I could not.
But before that, were you just drinking like at shows, or were you like also partying?
Oh, no, I was drinking. So I used to have this ritual before shows where I would always have 2 beers to like take the edge off.
Mm-hmm.
And then that seemed fine to me. And then I started drinking more and more because you're getting drink tickets and you've
Yeah.
got to use your drink tickets. But I think what happened is one time I got really drunk at the Laugh Factory and I kind of didn't remember what my set was. And that really scared me.
I think I was there.
Yeah. So I quit drinking. Before I ever quit drinking for good, because I relapsed early on. I actually quit drinking 7 years ago. And
Didn't take.
Yeah, it didn't take. But I really realized that I needed to quit drinking before shows. So I cut that out, and then I would just drink after shows more. And then I would, I didn't want to drink and drive, so I'd go home and drink by myself. And it was like this really terrible habit that I developed for a good reason. I didn't want to drink and drive, so I would just go home and get shit-faced.
You say that you're not a night owl, but like, were you drinking by yourself and reading murder mysteries, or what were you doing?
Well, no, this is what I do now instead
of
drinking.
What were you doing then? Because the show would end. Sometimes we'd be done.
Yeah.
Early as 10:30. What did you do? You just go home and drink by yourself?
Yeah. Well, it depends. Like if I didn't have my kids that weekend, because I'm divorced. Can you imagine that?
3 times now, right?
No,
just once.
Come on.
Huh.
I would go home, and the kids wouldn't be there, so I would have nobody to look after or anything, and I would just want to kill time, and I'd need it to almost help me sleep. That's how I would sleep. So then I would watch whatever stupid show that I was watching and just get drunk and then wake up feeling terrible and have to look at my phone and be like, oh shit, who did I text?
Who would you be texting?
Oh, I don't even know.
Like angry texts or like fun texts?
Or sometimes just dumb ones. Like or you're scrolling drunk, then you're like, oh my goodness, I haven't talked to that person for 10 years. I should reach out to them.
So was this the period of time we were actually texting, or when you say text, you mean text talk? Because you're the worst.
God.
About text talking.
It's embarrassing.
Oh, please.
It's so bad.
They're the worst. And your fucking
and I refuse
accent
to stop.
Doesn't, like, sometimes I'll be like, what are you trying to say? I think she's saying street. But it came out as like,
it's so bad.
Shotgun.
I should just do a whole series where I release my talk to text. It's like somebody learning English for the first time.
It's so bad.
And then it's so embarrassing because I'll have to go back and correct it, but I'll still
How much
talk
time
to
are you
text.
saving? Yeah.
Like I have to 4 times be like, oh, sorry. No wonder why nobody texts me anymore. It's really bad. I think this was time where you could reach out on Facebook through, it was still Messenger. If I had their number in my contacts, I probably would text them.
Drunk dialing.
Yeah.
This is when you were single too, so you were trying to...
Yeah, but not really anything flirty. It's just like reaching out to people like, hey, how have you been? It's 12 o'clock on a Tuesday. Oh.
So when are you creative then? When are you writing jokes and stuff? You did a lot of new stuff tonight.
I've been working on some new stuff. I've been having a really hard time writing new material. Almost was actually listening to another sober content person. A lot of times you start to relapse or think about it when you're having a hard time if you're a creative person, because I used to write a lot from drinking or get ideas from it. These are all red flags that I'm very aware of now after 4.5 years of sobriety and just doing different programs and stuff. I don't know when I'm creative anymore. I, for the life of me, have to make sure that I'm really watching ideas that come to mind or premises and writing them down, because there's a time, I think early on, I don't know if other comedians can relate to this or you can. Wasn't it so much easier to write material when you were the first 5 or 10 years in? There were so many new ideas that I was always having. And now I just feel like, well, I don't even know what I want to talk about anymore or what I think is funny. Something will spark my interest at any time of the day. It's definitely not a nighttime thing because I'm too wrapped up in my murder mystery,
What were you doing those first 5 years then? When were you writing then?
It had more to do with being less selective of what I wrote about, and now I also feel with like...
Because you were punching down all the time back then.
Honestly, yeah. Or it's easier to write easier premise.
And then you were more racist back then too.
Stop it. I was not.
Some of your jokes didn't roll.
We got away with a lot of stuff that now
don't put me. Hey, don't include me in your fucking white supremacy talk. I was Middlewestern always.
Terrible. I was never. I do feel like when you begin comedy, you write things that are more sexual or punching down because it's like easier. It's an easier joke.
Shock value.
And now as you're in it and you're also seeing all this stuff on social media all the time, I don't want to talk about anymore how kids are dehydrated. Or we were dehydrated, and kids today drink so much water. Like, there's so much that's already been addressed that now when something comes to me, I'm like, it's been done. I just wrote all this material about Gen X, and I try to look at it from a way that I've not heard other people address about the difference of Gen X, not being a latchkey kid, but like real specific minute things to me that
That's
are
the way
very
to
funny.
do it. Yeah. It's if it's not nuanced enough, or if it's too nuanced, you have to just give a little background. I've been doing a lot of Gen X stuff too. It comes up all the time because people are like, "Wait, what are you talking about?" And you're like, "You don't know what I'm talking about?"
Yeah.
And then you're like, "Oh shit, this is the premise." What about when you were younger? Were you ever like staying up late to watch TV or like comedy when you were a kid?
I mean, we had pretty strict routines. I was also the youngest of 8, so you would think by that my parents would be like, do whatever you want. But we had pretty strict routines of like we had to be in bed by 9 or 10. So
how did you get into comedy? When did you get to watch comedy?
My parents would have on Benny Hill. That was my first introduction to comedy. Benny Hill, Carol Burnett, Saturday Night Live, SCTV, Johnny Carson.
Yeah.
You know. So sometimes it was like sneaking up, and they had 2 recliners that they used to sit in. And sometimes I would sneak and I would watch over the recliner. My dad was hard of hearing, so he would have his hearing aid in and the TV blasting so he could hear it. And I would kind of sneak behind him and watch it. And I do remember that's how I didn't get into comedy until I was 35.
Right.
So, but to me, that was valued in my house. That's how I got attention, was by being funny. I heard my parents, like my blue collar parents that worked 4 jobs, when they were watching television laughing, to me, I was like, that's magical. There's something that made them forget about the shitty day they just had.
Right.
And
was anyone else in your family funny?
Yeah, pretty much. My sister Therese was one of the funniest people I knew. She's no longer with us, but she could tell a story like nobody's business.
Like, can't you just steal her material?
Yeah, I know. I should.
She's gone now.
Yeah, she wouldn't care. Yeah, and then my brother Jack is still to this day as one of the funniest people I know. I didn't watch a lot of stand-up until the next time I really remember watching stand-up, besides comedians we would see on Johnny Carson, was Dane Cook. Dane, when he did
much
that
later.
tour.
Yeah. Tourgasm.
And I remember being so fascinated on what that life looked like. Not so much the comedy, but the touring and the way he was able to talk to audience members.
Jay Davis and Gary Gulman.
Yeah, yes. So I was an adult watching Dane Cook, and I didn't have anything to really judge him against, where he got a lot of hate later. But he had that bit about something with the paper and the Bible and the tree, and I remember thinking that was brilliant.
So he's your inspiration.
No, he wasn't. But I did really love what he did with that show and showing the touring of it. Coming from a background that was so, like, if you did not have a union card or there was no room in my house or life for the arts. Like, I always wanted to be an actress when I was little. And I remember my mom just looking at me like, what are you, crazy? Why would you,
it was frowned upon in my family too.
Not any of the arts, right?
No,
yeah. Well, but they had higher aspirations for you.
Yeah, I was the fucking idiot.
My parents were like, you need to learn how to type to like be a secretary. When I told them I was going to college, my mom said, why would you go to college when you could be a secretary? Literally.
Were you the only person of your siblings?
No, my brother was a lawyer. He was,
I didn't know that.
He was a lawyer. And then my other sister was an accountant, but I was like the youngest. My other sister was like a journalist. 4 out of 8 of us went and got.
Did you get a scholarship to college at Purdue?
You went to Purdue, right? I got some, like a partial, but it was still like more than my parents.
It was a DEI thing.
Yeah, DEI.
Did you get good grades in high school?
I got good grades starting my junior year when I had this Indian teacher, Dr. Wicks.
That's not his real name.
It was, no. He gathered like 7 girls. I went to an all-girl high school. After school, he said he wanted to meet with us, which nowadays that would be suspect. But he said, he was like this, he was a doctor, so to me that was like, I didn't even understand.
What is he teaching?
He was teaching history and Latin. Latin, which I was a national Latin scholar.
They let you do it even though you can't say Latin. Fucking tease.
He gathered 7 girls from our sophomore class and said,
well, we call a harem in the Middle East.
Yeah, and I'm the racist one.
Sorry, it was right there.
Oh, God, that's going to get
I
cut.
can say that. No, it's not.
You can say that.
I'm Middle East. I said what we call, and you laughed at it, so whatever. Yeah. Anyway.
Cut me out. Edit me laughing at that out.
7 women
7 women.
high school women.
Yeah, 7 girls. And he basically said, you guys are the brightest in the class. And I was looking around at these girls that were like in, calculus. And I'm like struggling with like basic geometry.
So you were like the 7th.
I was the 7th. He saw something in my writing and in my like
creative
discourse
or the writing English side.
And I was good in sciences that didn't involve math. He was the first teacher that ever said to me, like,
wow,
you're really smart. And then I was like, wow. And he said, you should be having your sights like on a university. And
did he have an accent?
He did. I would not do it. Are you kidding me? No, 10 years ago I would have.
Yeah, I had a great Indian accent. Fuck, that joke was so good. No, I don't do it anymore. As soon as someone that's in the protected class confronts you about something, then I'm like, yeah, it makes sense. But when like a person who doesn't understand, that's where I think woke gets a bad name, is when like people come in and they're like, you can't say that. I'm like, well, you're not the one to tell me that.
Right.
Someone who's whatever, if you have a trans joke or whatever, they should be the person that tells me it. I used to say the R word. And then my friend who has a child who's mentally challenged was like, don't say that.
Yeah.
And then he explained it to me. I'm like, okay, I'm never going to fucking say that. Because I used to do a joke where I used to say it.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and then you evolve, which is what
we all do. Right.
Kind people do. They evolve. The point is, when you said that's what we all do, no, that's not what we all do.
Right.
And
we should all do.
Well, we should do. But it also it's about being empathetic. Rena Kalm, who is a great comedian.
Yes.
I remember she had said something about whenever somebody comes to her and has a problem with her material, whether she's talking about gay rights or something, or whatever it was, she made such a good point. The first question she asks this audience member or person she's talking to is like, how many people do you know in that demographic?
Right.
And the idea is they don't know anybody. They've never met anybody. They never talked to. They don't have friends. And I thought, that is really such a powerful thing because so many people have a hard time empathizing with others.
Well, I do my mother's accent, but that's different.
Yeah.
My argument was, well, we're kind of neighboring countries. It's so fucking good. And
it's so right there.
I'm like, come on. It's such a good joke.
And you had an Indian person come up to you after your show and say
no, I saw Hari, the comedian, talk about the Simpsons thing. I saw someone else. I'll tell you what happened. I saw someone doing an Indian accent, like a very fucking stereotype shit. I didn't do that. And I was just like, I don't want to do it anymore. So I stopped. I'll still shit on fucking gay people. I don't give a shit.
Paul, you just take that, put that on your list next week. Don't shit on gay people.
I love the gays.
You love the gays.
They love me
They love
too.
you back, Paul.
Okay, so this teacher takes 7 of you that change your life. Did you ever talk to him again, by the way, later and be like, you changed my life?
Yeah, so then he used to do this thing where he would have me type his wife's resume, and they lived on the Gold Coast.
Are you serious?
Yeah, he used to literally call me up and ask me to type his wife's resume, and he actually took advantage of me in like so many ways. Not those kind of ways.
I understand.
But because he really did change my life and made me think about what my future could be, and now I'm sitting on this couch doing a podcast. I'm so sorry, Dr. Wicks.
That's good
and
teachers too.
He was my Latin teacher, and then I was a National Latin Scholar, and I had my name on the marquee in front of my high school, and that tell you if you're not getting laid in high school, get your name.
Were you a nerdy kid in high school?
No, I wasn't nerdy. I had a good group of friends. I was, an athlete and
partier, drinking,
hardcore,
slutty.
No, again, thank you, Catholic Church. I missed out on some
when
of the best years.
When did you lose your virginity? How old were you?
Let's not go into this.
It's a valid question. No. Was it before 20?
Yes.
Was it before 15?
No.
Okay. Was it 17?
What is this? The Price is Right?
I'm trying to figure it out.
No. Listen to me. The Catholic Church did such a number on your ability to have a good time as a high school student.
What'd you get in your ACT? I think we've talked
28.
about 28. That's pretty good. That's not the best on the show, but it's in the top.
Who was the best?
I think Deanna Ortiz had the highest.
Yeah, because she went to really smart school. Too.
Some surprising people that you wouldn't think had like 28s and above. I was like, fuck yeah, I thought you were dumb. I wasn't a good test
Yeah, but
taker.
were they national Latin scholars?
See if you can say it properly. Why
Yeah.
don't you just say button right
I
when
don't
you tell
know.
the joke? Maybe you're losing some
Button?
laughs when you don't say it right. Because like, what is
Button?
she fucking saying?
Button? How do you say it?
It's not like that.
Button?
Button.
Button.
There's a T. There's two T's.
Button.
Well, you're not even saying one.
Am I saying it?
Button. Where's the T? It's not. Don't blame it on a fucking speech impediment. It's just lazy. What would Dr. Wicks say? Think about that.
I thought the problem was I was saying an I instead of an O. Button.
No, you're just skipping the two. You're just going from BU to ON. Button. Like you're afraid of those two crosses.
Like it's
Maybe
a Cockney accent.
Okay, so you lost your virginity at 16. You weren't a slut.
No.
Did you have a boyfriend in high school?
Yeah, a serious one for 4 years.
How long were you in high school for?
4 years. I started dating him my
Oh.
freshman year.
Oh, okay.
Senior year. He was a year older than me. He was a football player. He went away to college.
What kind of trouble were you getting into when you were in high school then?
Oh, I was drinking heavily and being carried home. My problems with drinking started early.
Okay.
And nobody ever said to me like, hey, this behavior will lead you down the wrong path. I'm sure like my parents just wanted like to ignore it. One of my earliest times getting in trouble drinking, I was like 12 and I had to be carried home. And they put me in a bathtub. They should have brought me to the emergency room.
That's how Whitney Houston died.
Yeah. The next day, I came out of my room, had no idea what happened. I was covered in blood and throw up. And my mom said to me, you are so funny. Why would you do this to yourself? And that was honestly probably the only compliment she ever gave me. Like she was trying to say, like, why would you ruin your life like this? You're so funny. And I remember thinking, wow, my mom thinks I'm funny, you know?
I'm going to keep doing
Yeah.
this. Yeah.
And but she didn't mean from the
I know.
drinking, you know. I didn't smoke, I didn't do drugs, but I never saw drinking as a problem. My parents weren't big drinkers. You know, you had a 10 o'clock curfew, you had to drink as much as you could
Before you got home. Yeah.
And you didn't realize how it was going to affect you, but it just set me up for, you know, a lot of years of like binging, not drinking responsibly, which is a fallacy. There's no such thing as drinking responsibly. Alcohol is meant to get you drunk.
Yeah,
you know?
what's the point? Well, yeah, I drank more in high school than I did in any period of my life.
Even
maybe.
college?
Yeah, I
Yeah?
think so. We drank a lot.
Yeah.
To me, I could never drink like an adult. I can't. What's the
Yeah,
point of
what's the
having one
point?
fucking drink? That's stupid.
Yeah. Even as an adult, that was something
Yeah.
I could not do. And that was something, you know, not that I really didn't stick with AA or anything, but I did take a lot of lessons from it. And then I went to other programs. But that is probably the most powerful thing in like AA is that you are powerless over it. Like you, and it's never about how much you're drinking, because sometimes people come up to me after a show and I invite people to if they're struggling, and I say that
Yeah,
honestly.
you do say that on stage. That's pretty cool. That's
and-
very kind of you.
Yeah. And a woman said to me, well, how much were you drinking? And that's a red flag, because when somebody's asking that, they're trying to find ways to like
Like, oh, I'm not
justify
as bad
it.
as
Right.
that fucking
And
drunk.
it's never about how much, it's the consequences
Right.
of it. Yeah.
Well, what I consider drinking as an adult was you'd have a drink at dinner.
Yeah.
What's the fucking point? For me, when you went sober, the thing that I kept thinking about is I stopped drinking before shows.
You were talking about drinking in high school, getting bear runs.
Mm-hmm.
We would just go right to the hard alcohol because it took less. It was easier to conceal.
Yeah.
So we were, you know, drinking vodka and Everclear.
We started with that when we were freshmen and sophomore. We'd
Yeah.
steal alcohol from our parents,
Right.
and we'd mix them all together. We call it the suicide. It'd be like gin, vodka. It was disgusting,
Yeah.
but it was all hard liquor, and you would just chug it and then you'd chase it.
Yeah. We used to, did you guys do the thing where you would take your parents' alcohol, but then refill it with water?
Yeah, my dad just took me aside. He's like, stop doing that.
Okay. Well, we did it. So I did it so much that my parents had friends over to drink, and they're pouring drinks, making a gin and tonic. That was my dad's drink. And I loved gin because that was what we always had in the house. And I remember my Uncle Bob, we called him, saying to my dad, Ed, this tastes like water. And my dad said, I added this much in there, and they're taking it from the bottle. And my mom's face went white, and she goes, oh my God, Bobby relapsed. That was my brother. They thought it was my brother Because I was like in 7th grade.
Yeah.
So nobody was looking at me.
The one thing I always tell younger comedians, I'm like, if you look at the success of comedians after they've gone sober, there's a direct correlation.
Yeah, I agree. It's weird though that I'm having this time where I'm in a really hard writer's block, that I'm just having a very hard time generating new material or premises or things that I am even interested in talking about.
For me, it's so fucking hard because I'm watching the news and the things I want to talk about, and I do talk about on social media, but not on stage as much. It just, I lose so many followers, especially in Florida. Like, they get fucking pissed.
Yeah.
I'm not even revealing. And I'm just explaining the law. I'm like, you guys, because I was a lawyer. I don't know if you guys see that. I'll like explain immigration. Yeah. And people are like, fucking libtard. I'm like, this is the Constitution. What are you talking about?
Constitution. I do read the news, but I do that rather than watch it because I can control what I'm taking in.
Right.
It is really a mental health thing.
I stopped watching for a while, but then I started watching when there was fires in LA again.
Yeah.
That's how I got sucked back in, because then like, oh, well, this is what's happening in the country too. I'm like, fuck, now I'm in again. It's hard to come up with newer stuff. Also, I think we're doing so many shows too that it's like you don't have a time to like have a real life and stuff.
My brain is having just a hard time generating what is funny about this or what is it really, something really has to hit me or click. And then sometimes it'll just be like something small within my life that I'm like, this will be funny. Like the other day I started this whole thing this summer where I'm decluttering. I'm calling it the summer of declutter. And I thought about how funny it was when I was writing a bit about it. Like, you love buying shit in your 30s, but oh my God, wait until you start to throw stuff away in your 50s. Oh, like liberation. But I was like, that's funny. And it's going to relate to people on different levels. I just have to flesh it out. But it's those kind of things where
that's a great premise.
I don't write really news or political or topical things. I have throughout time, especially when it deals with women. But otherwise, I just like to write about things from my life.
That's a premise that's fun. I mean, that's a great thing. It doesn't even say 50s. Be like, wait till you get older.
Yeah, right. But it does hit you in your 40s. I mean, I'm barely 50, so I'm just guessing.
Well, I'm not there yet, so I don't know what you're talking about. But yeah, I think that and I think you're kind of in your head too much where you're like, well, people have been talking about it. It's like, who cares? You have things that happen with you and with your kids and with your husband that you can talk about that are going to relate to the audience. You know what the problem is you're fucking going to sleep too early.
I think so.
You need to go become a night owl again.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think I need to put down the murder mystery books.
Yeah,
Ruth Ware is going to have to wait.
Who?
Ruth Ware. I'll get on.
I don't know anything about that. I read fucking way more than you, and it's all nonfiction. I don't read fucking...
What's the last nonfiction you read?
I read Love Lucy, which is about Lucille Ball's her memoir autobiography. I just finished. That's pretty good. And then I'm reading, I just got Nate Bargatze's book. And I'm also reading Ione Skye.
Oh, yeah.
Her memoir.
Oh, her memoir, yeah.
Yeah, I just started that. Yeah. I read multiple books at a time. I'm reading
he's so smart, isn't he?
Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
His book.
You're reading 3 books at one time.
Always, because I get bored. And I am also like, I'm kind of what you call an overachiever.
Are you, Paul?
Did you see how many books out there? I read every fucking one of those except one. Infinite Jest. I never can finish.
Yeah, nobody can finish. Nobody's ever finished.
Yeah, just stay up late. Don't you have great some of your best jokes are fucking shit that happened to you late at night.
Yeah.
You know what? Another thing I did one year for my birthday, instead of wishing me happy birthday or whatever, just tell me what you would think of me. What's the first impression or a story? And so many people told me stuff. And because I was so drunk at the time, I didn't remember that story. And I got 2 jokes out of that. Things I forgot about. Yeah. If it's memorable to the person that you're connected with on social media, whatever, then clearly it made even if it's not a funny story, your comic chops should be able to make it funny if you're still funny.
Well,
your mom said you were funny.
Know. My mom said I was funny. What I've been doing too, do you ever go back to old notebooks to look?
Yeah.
Old notebooks.
I'm doing that right now.
Fresh and things in my writing. So this is something else. It was an exercise. I don't even know if I ever heard it somewhere, but I wrote down what were memorable moments in my life that I feel like changed who I was. And there was a time, this just came to me the other day, where I was in a theology class in high school, and I had this brother John. He was a son of a bitch. He had his ear pierced like he was cool, or he was a brother. I don't even know what a brother is. Like, they're not a priest. They were telling us in the Catholic Church, again, full circle here, even after marriage, you should not be having sex unless it is for the sole purpose
Of children.
of procreating.
I agree
And
with
I
that.
raised my hand. Shut up. I raised my hand and I said, you mean to tell me all this time you've been telling us to wait until after marriage, and now you're telling us we can't even have sex after marriage?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, does somebody have a problem with the word no, Miss Doogan? And I was like, I don't know. Did your mom have a problem with the word no? And I've never seen a teacher get angrier. And he threw me out of the classroom.
How old were you?
I was a sophomore in high school. And he called my mom. And I remember, this is why it had such an impact on me. One, because I realized the hypocrisy of what they were teaching us. But then my mom said to me, well, what did you say to her, Brother John? Like, she took my side.
Good.
My mom never took the teacher's
That's
side.
a good
My
story.
side. Yeah. And I was like, there is something pretty funny about that. Did your mom have a problem with the word
That
no?
would be a moment if Morgan Freeman was narrating, it'd be like, and that's when she found out there was no Lord.
Yeah.
That would be like your
And that's when
find
she realized.
Catholic Brother John was a piece of shit
Yeah.
or whatever.
That's when she realized the old adage, if you can't say something nice, don't say it
That's
at all.
That's a good premise for a joke, especially like with your theme of women's rights.
Women's rights. Oh.
No, I've
Women
couldn't.
be shopping.
Well, you haven't even why haven't
know.
you recorded a special?
Because why do I need to?
Yeah, you don't want to do anything with your life. You don't care anymore.
Just listen. I am probably one of the last purest comedians where, why am I fucking doing this when can I curse on this show?
Yeah.
Can I curse on this goddamn podcast?
Yeah, I've been doing it this whole time.
I love stand up for what it is and what it represents. I'm not interested in anything else about it. I mean, I hate social media so much. Follow me on Instagram. It's Doogan with 2 O's. But like,
You're crushing it now again, though. I saw your numbers went up.
Yeah, I had the 2 clips go viral. So half of my followers are stoners. Like, literally.
Which clip was it?
The one of the goldfish. Oh, I didn't say that today. We're teaching.
Oh yeah.
And having
What's
a
the other
stoner
one?
in class. And then a joke I do for teachers about how hard it is to be a teacher.
Right.
So the other half of my is teachers.
It's not that hard.
I hate social
months.
media. I hate all of it. I'm not putting
Yeah,
on
it
a
sucks,
wig.
but it's a necessary evil.
I don't feel the need to record an album because I haven't done anything that I love so much that I want it preserved.
Can I
will
tell you
at some
why
point.
it's good, and especially with what you're talking about with your writers thing? Because once it's burned and you
That's
have it
not
on,
even true. You can't do it anymore.
no, that's not. It forces you to want to write new stuff.
But I am still forcing myself to write new stuff.
Are you though?
Yeah, the first what you said too about adding to comedy to an old bit. All that Gen X stuff I have is all brand new 10, 20 minutes.
What would you have done tonight if you didn't do the show? Go back to your murder mysteries?
While my husband was off work, I probably would have.
What are you going to do? What do you guys do?
I don't know. We watched such a terrible movie yesterday.
What is it?
It was called Leave No Trace, and it was the most depressing movie. And he always looks up Rotten Tomatoes, Dan, and he goes like this, it's got 100%. I said, that's impossible. Nobody has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. Now I got to watch it. 2 fucking hours of the most boring shit. Quite a insight into how veterans are treated in this country. Very sad.
Well, we're out of time, Jeanie.
Oh, dang it.
Go back to your fucking murder mystery, I suppose.
I can't wait.
Where can people find you on social? What's your favorite thing you want people to follow?
The only thing that I pay any attention to now is Instagram. I deleted TikTok. I'm sorry.
Why? Because of the China?
No. Do you think I give a fuck about that? No, because
You don't care about
students are
Chinese?
on it.
Oh.
And I don't want to manage.
But you're going to be out of that world in like 2 years.
4. Because I don't want to manage 3 I delete a Twitter, delete a TikTok. I'm only on social media to look at dogs, DIY projects, and then try to post 1 or 2 things a week.
I'm going to tell you what after we get done here what you
All
should
right.
do. Threads is really fun, by the way.
No, I
It's
deleted
fucking
Threads.
awesome.
I tried.
Well, thanks for doing the podcast, Jeannie. I know this is way past your bedtime.
It
It's
is.
9:30, by the way.
It is not 9:30. It's 11:19.
Thank you, Jeannie, and thank you all
you.
for watching or listening. Go to sleep.